It's been an amazing educational opportunity for me to help the business owners or managers, leaders, just to understand what neurodiversity means and what they're seeing. It's not that these people are not listening or, they're not doing what you ask them to because they choose not to. Their brains function differently. So let's figure out how to maximize their strengths because they have huge strengths. Let's figure out what those are and how to use them so that it becomes a mutually beneficial relationship.
Welcome to Be Bold Branding, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand.
What if you could reclaim your time and transform your business by understanding the psychology behind why some entrepreneurs thrive while others burn out? Today, we're joined by Dr. Amber Bartlett, founder of Barkerhouse Consulting. After years as a university professor studying organizational behavior, she discovered her true calling when she opened her own pet care facility and faced staff turnover and burnout firsthand. Now she helps frustrated small business owners unlock their people, processes, and profits through her 5-hour freedom framework. On a side note, Dr. Bartlett is also a BrandFace client, so we'll learn about her personal branding journey as well.
Dr. Amber, welcome to Be Bold Branding.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited as well. And before we dig into your profession, though, we need a little background. Could you share with us a little insight into how you grew up and what led you in the direction of what you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to take my very eclectic background and try to box it into this short story. So I grew up in the South. I'm a Southerner. I spent time, but mostly in Florida. Spent some time in Georgia also, and grew up on out in the country. I mean, y'all are from the South, so right? I had cows on one side, horses on the other, ended up with chickens, goats, dogs, you name it. I had it growing up. So I've always had a love of animals, but never really considered that as a career path. And so I kind of went, a couple different ways and ended up in the traditional corporate America. Climbed my way up that proverbial ladder because I thought that is what you do to be successful. I got to the top of that ladder, looked around and said, oh, stink. I don't like it up here. I don't want to stay up here. And so I, decided I wanted to try working for myself. If I didn't like the top of the ladder, let's try that. So there was, several years in between, but I ended up with my first dog care business right in the heart and city of Boston. And that just kind of fell into my lap. I had been laid off from corporate America, was walking my dogs around, and people kept asking me, who are you using to walk your dogs? And I was like, me, I'm walking my dogs. But enough people asked me that I thought, hey, I think there's something here, right? Find a need and fill it. And so that's what I did. And I'm aging myself now, but I went to all the apartment buildings hanging those flyers that have the little pull tabs at the bottom. And within a year, ended up with over 100 clients. I had employees. It was crazy. Nothing I expected, but I learned so much during that time, including that I loved doing that. I loved the animal care industry and I loved working for myself. And so I ended up selling that business, did some more things in between, but ended up where I am today, which is like you mentioned in the intro. I have my own pet care business again. We do dog daycare, boarding, grooming, training, because I knew I wanted to give back to the animals. But in those years in between, my first businesses that I sold, I had also gone back to school. I got my doctorate in psychology, was studying a lot of different organizational behavior things. And then, like you mentioned, being in the pet care space, I said, whoa, there is a lot here, but there's a high turnover rate, different types of employees. There's a lot of neurodiversity in there. And so it was an awesome study research ground for me to, start to think, how do I help this industry? And then outside of that, also other industries, combining that psychology of business ownership, client, experience, employee experience, as well as then having the business owner experience. So just kind of threw that together and have found, my joy in life. This is what I love doing now.
Well, that is, there's a lot to unpack in that I like. Doing what you like, I think, is a big takeaway from that. Like, you clearly have become successful doing something that you love to do. And then also going to school in between that time and getting your doctorate in psychology. Congratulations. That's not, they don't just give them out. So congratulations on that.
For it for a long time. Yeah.
Right. And then I really like the fact that you have focused what you're doing towards a problem that's probably gotten worse over the last 2 decades, which is how do you deal with employees and what do you do with that? We'll unpack a lot of that.
Yeah.
But it's really awesome you're in that space, because I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that need some of these questions answered.
Yeah.
I know, being a small entrepreneur myself, a small boutique real estate brokerage, we would deal with that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to touch on something that you shared with me when we first started working together on your brand, Amber, and that was that you noticed there were a lot of neurodiverse people in the pet care industry. Tell me a little bit about that and what you noticed about that employee segment that you thought, this really helps. Your psychology background really kind of came to the surface during that point as well.
Yes, great question. I love talking about this. So first of all, just to clarify, because I know the word is out there, but some people still don't get it. So neurodiversity, when you're thinking about that, literally just means people whose brains work differently than what we consider typical, for typical brain function. So, it's just some examples. This is just a tiny example, but if you think of ADHD, autism, extreme anxiety, people that have these different functioning brains, nothing wrong. It's just they function different than others. And so I started to find in the pet care industry, this was the majority of employees that, I was seeing with clients. I see it in my own facility. And, it's really kind of cool, because if you think about people with, neurodiverse brain functioning, they a lot of times have a hard time with their social skills, with other humans interacting. And so they are drawn to, I'm working with dogs, I'm working with animals, and dogs and animals are psychologically beneficial for any human, right? It's been proven through research that it helps, it helps our nerves, any anxiety, depression, just having these animals. They're great emotional support. And so it made sense when I started to realize the pattern, why these folks are attracted to this industry, because it helps, alleviate some of that tension and stress and uncomfortableness that comes with being out in the big wide world of, functioning typically with other humans. And so then taking that, then, the other opportunity was working with owners of these businesses to understand that they had these neurodiverse employees, because, when I was working with clients, they would be like, I just can't get her to listen, or she only wants to do this and not do this, and she's not understanding what. And I'm like, okay, let's take a second. And so it's been an amazing educational opportunity for me to help the business owners or managers, leaders, whoever's leading, these people in this industry, just to understand what neurodiversity means and what they're seeing. It's not that these people are not listening because they're being jerks, or, they're not doing what you ask them to because they choose not to. Their brains function differently. So let's figure out how to maximize their strengths, because they have huge strengths that even I don't have. So let's figure out what those are and how to use them so that it becomes a mutually beneficial relationship.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that your psychology background, your doctorate, really came to play in that point. Where was that pretty much the first time you were able to see the connection to psychology background and working with business owners to help them understand their employees?
It was a big turning point in what I was focusing on, because like I said, that was a great opportunity for me to help the owners, understand what they were dealing with. But then at the same time, any business owners that I'm working with, I started to realize, first of all, as business owners or entrepreneurs, which y'all will understand, we're a different breed. We think differently, we act differently. And so even just to understand the psychology of why you make decisions that you make in your business, why do you procrastinate when you procrastinate? So, it really kind of opened my mind to all of the different tie-ins to psychology in business ownership. I mean, think about client experience. If you can understand the psychology of your clients, what they're looking for, how they think, what their preferences are, your sales are going to go way up. Your revenue is going to start to go up. So yeah, I think that was a rambling answer to your question. That it was a pivotal moment for me to understand psychology is weaved all into business ownership. So how do I help, business owners understand that so that they can use it to their benefit?
Yeah, I want to applaud you again because I really like that direction of what you're doing with the psychology doctorate degree. I think that is so vital because small businesses make up such a huge part of the U.S. economy, and the world's economy, but especially the U.S. And we're sort of leaders in that space, right? The freedom to create anything that we want to. We're blessed enough to live in a country like that. I think it's awesome because you're using those skills. Because just like you said, your customer, if you understand the psychology of your customer, you're going to do better for them. If you understand the psychology of the people that you're employing and working with, your business is going to run tighter and do better. If you can bring in other people of other sex, neurological divergent people that you wouldn't even consider because you don't know. And then now you do know, and that gives them opportunity. I just see the whole thing as a huge win, 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 win. I love it. I think it's incredible.
And I know, and we'll get more into this in just a moment, Dr. Amber, but you talk a lot about liberating small business leaders, right? That's really that theme for your brand, so to speak. And you talk about true liberation being not escaping from work, but transforming how we approach it. I want you to address that for a minute because that's fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think so many business owners and entrepreneurs, myself included, we get into our own businesses because we want to control the money we bring in. We want to control when we work, how we work, right? We want to make our own decisions. And what so many of us find after we get into these businesses is all we've done is create another job for ourselves. We now have no time because we're working constantly doing all the things, right? The money isn't there because we don't, understand how to make maybe the right decisions at the beginning. And so I just find it, so interesting that we get into this, whether we're getting into it, like I just mentioned, for time freedom, right? I'm a single mom of a toddler. So I have to make sure that I have time for him. I need to feed him, give him attention, make sure I'm being his mom while at the same time running my multiple businesses. And so understanding, priorities in the role they play in being a business owner, has helped me not to just have a job that I am now, tied to. We talk about the golden handcuffs, right? We get to a place, but now we kind of feel stuck. And so it's not about the work, it's about how we work. How do we intentionally choose priorities? How do we set up a business and so that it's giving us the time that we want and the money that we want? How do we know when to delegate, when to outsource? So that's kind of what we talk about, when it comes to liberation. That word, I remember when you and I were first talking about it, I'm like, it feels so big. You're like liberated, this huge word with this big connotation. But that's really what I want for people. I want them to feel like I am doing what I want to do in the way I want to do it that works for me. And now I am free to go on vacation, to play with my kids, to be at their soccer team, and to have multiple houses, whatever's important to you. That's my goal, is to liberate you in whatever way you want to be liberated.
Like what you're hearing? Hit that subscribe button and learn how you can change how you're seen and charge what you're worth.
That's great.
Beautiful.
That is great. And to piggyback on that a little bit, it's someone like yourself that teaches business owners to build teams and handle operations without hands-on management. What is the biggest psychological barrier you think that prevents delegation and trust?
That is a great question. And I feel like it comes down to two major ones. The first one is fear. Fear is underlying so many, right, of our decisions, which is, what I get people to realize and understand, because we don't know that. We don't say, I'm going to make this choice today or not make it because I'm fearful. Like, it's just subconscious. Our brains are physiologically set up to protect us. And, it doesn't matter if it's running from a lion, which it used to protect us from, or, feeling like, I don't know if I should make that decision or not. And so fear is the underlying driver of a lot of what we do or what we don't do. And I think the second one is control. And which is tied to the fear, right? So it's the biggest thing that I see is when you start a business, like that's your baby, right? Like you started this and you do it the way you want to do it, and no one will ever do it the way that you do it, which is true. However, if you want to continue to do it only the way you do it, you're going to end up burned out. It's not sustainable. And so I feel like those are the two kind of obstacles that we have to overcome, especially if you're at the point where you want to grow or you want to scale. You have to know how to delegate. You have to know how to outsource, and you have to be able to recognize, yeah, this is scary. I don't like this. This is uncomfortable, but my vision and my goal is over there, and that's where I want to get to. So where we're uncomfortable is where we grow.
I love it.
I do too. Beautiful. Well, I want to talk just a little bit. Let's segue now into the actual building of the brand, which is where we kind of take everything that you are, everything you stand for, and pull it all together to present to the world, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'll just I'll read your elevator pitch here, Dr. Amber. Liberating frustrated and fatigued small business owners by unlocking their people, processes, and profits. So I love how that came together, because that really is exactly what you do. And that big word liberating really seemed to finally settle in with you. It's like, yes, that's what I want to help people do. Mm-hmm. So let's answer this for me first. Why did you come into the BrandFace program?
Yes, I was at a point with business and with what I was doing that I knew, I knew what I had to offer, what I wanted to offer. I had been, in it enough to know this is what I want to do. This is how I can benefit people. I had no idea how to communicate that. I would go to networking groups and be like, oh, wow, yeah, I just stumbled through that. That was ugly. And I just couldn't get across what I was doing. Because if you think about it, a business psychologist, how often do you come across those, right? And so people would just kind of, stare at me. And so I was at a point where I really needed help figuring out how do I communicate who I am and what I do in a way that would resonate and that people would get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, perfect. That's what a lot of us know the answers to those questions. We don't always know how to articulate that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as you can tell, I don't have any problem speaking or talking, but it was just, how do I do it in a way that makes sense?
You're in good company.
Yes, for sure. We always say, you can't read the label when you're the one inside the jar. Yeah, you got to have somebody else sort of show you. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, now it makes sense. I can see it.
No, absolutely.
And speaking to that, what would you say was the most eye-opening part of your BrandFace journey?
So I will never forget. That sounds so cliche. I will never forget, but I will never forget this time. I was in the meeting, Tanya, with you and Clara, and it was after I had kind of sent the brain dump of, this is where I come from, this is what I believe in, this is what I do. And we came back to that meeting and you were like, okay, this is what we've come up with so far. And you read it to me and I got goosebumps. I was like, yes, that's it. Like you hit it. And I had not been able to articulate that. But when I heard it read back to me, it was just, it was so, it really highlighted, Michael, what you just said. That outside perspective is invaluable because I had just brain dumped a bunch of stuff and was like, oh, yikes, good luck. I don't know how this is going to help. But you came back with the exact perfect articulation of what I had been trying to communicate. So that was huge. And it felt so good.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I got to give a nod to this because I had to chuckle at you several times throughout this journey. She would come to the meetings and say, I just know you're going to fire me. I have something else to change. I just know you're going to fire me. It's like, you hired us. We're not going to fire you. So
I was really afraid of that, but you were so gracious because that's the other thing that I think is, sorry to interrupt again, but I think that's the other thing that this process taught me is that it's not a one and done, right? We had so many iterations. We had a major shift in the beginning and thank God you did not fire me. But so, it was just getting it out there and the twists and the turns until you feel like, okay, that's it. That is it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sticking with us through that journey because I love it when people are so open like that. And I had to giggle every time you said that because I knew you were serious about it. You were worried. It's like, are they going to get rid of me here? It's like, not even close.
No. we liken ourselves a little bit to being tailors, if you will, because we've always said that your brand is a suit that you need to be comfortable in and can wear every day, all the time, because your brand precedes you in everything that you do, and it helps you to articulate what it is that you're trying to help your client with, and that's our wheelhouse. And for you to say that means everything to us, and we would never have fired you.
No.
Well, I'm so grateful.
Another kind of cool note is Michael's grandpa always used to tell him, don't sew your suit so tight you can't wear it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So good.
It's so good.
It's flexible.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is. Make it so you can actually move in it, but it's still tailored to you, right?
I love that.
I do too. Michael's grandpa was a genius. I never had a chance to meet him. May he rest in peace, but I would have loved to have met him.
Yes. The sayings that y'all share in the podcast, I just love them. There's been a lot I've written down, like, I like that one. Okay.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, tell us, Amber, so far, how has your brand already helped you?
Oh my gosh, in so many ways. So tactically, literally in the time, I can't remember how many months it's been now, but in the time that we've worked together, I was signing every month, maybe like 1 to 2, of my high one-on-one clients, changed my brand. Once I changed my brand, by the way, I went out there, like an evangelist, because I was so excited to have it. So I was like trying it on everywhere in every group I was in. Last month, I literally signed 6 new one-on-one coaching clients. And so to go from 2 in a month to 6. So yeah, tactically, literally, it has helped me. And I think, that's the tactical side. The more, because I am a psychology nerd, the psychology part of it has just boosted my confidence. When I speak to people now, I know how to articulate the reason that they want to work with me. And I think that was huge because, again, psychology research, nerd brain, like we are in the weeds, And so that was one of the things I learned from you. It's like, we're not talking about what we're doing. We're talking about this is why you need, what I offer. And so it's just, giving me the confidence to share it anywhere and everywhere. And I can see the results just literally with the business that I'm getting.
Oh,
that tickles us.
Yes, that's a Southern term, by the way.
I know.
It makes us happy.
My mortgage company is very tickled too. So yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's great.
Everybody. Your reach is very far in what you do and the benefits of it.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, so what would you say to others who are considering becoming a brand face?
I mean, absolutely don't hesitate. I will say, even when I went to, it's always a risk, right? Being a business owner is a risk. It's an investment in yourself. Mm-hmm. But just like I explained, I went from 2 clients to 6. So I've already paid off my investment that I invested in myself with y'all. But again, not only that, just do it. I don't know. It does sound like Nike now, but there's just, I feel like if you are in a place where you know what you want to do, who you want to help, like who you are, and you're just not seeing the results that you think you want to see, there's no better option. You'll definitely see. I am living proof, because trust me, I have watched a million of these being like, how did they get those results? What did they do? And now I'm that person, which is so exciting. So yeah, definitely, if you're on the fence or even considering it, do it. And it's not one of those things that you do and then, been there, done that. The repercussions and the benefits are ongoing.
Y'all heard it here. Listen to the doctor, everybody.
Right?
Listen to the doctor. She knows.
If you have a psychological holdback that's keeping you from joining BrandFace, there's your doctor of psychology.
That's right. There's your prescription, guys.
Just do it.
I love it. Well, how can people learn more about doing business with you so you can have 6 more by next month?
Yes, that would be amazing. I think the easiest, most universal way is LinkedIn. So many people are on LinkedIn. So Dr. Amber Bartlett, do a search for that. And so far, knock on wood, I'm the only one out there of that. So yeah, just easily find me and, message me is so easy, and I respond to everybody. So.
Well, we'll put that link in the show notes for sure. And Dr. Amber, what a pleasure and honor it has been to work with you. And luckily, you're in another program right now with us, so we still get to see you now and then, and which we love. Don't go anywhere. You know, BrandFace is like Hotel California. You can come in, but you can never leave, right? And we don't want you to leave. But what a pleasure it's been working with you, and I'm so happy to see that success from this. And thank you for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you for everything that y'all helped me with and that you helped so many others with. And thanks for having me. This was so much fun.
Ready to change how you're seen and charge what you're worth? If you're not getting enough opportunities to meet with ideal customers, or the prospects you're meeting with just aren't ideal, it's most likely your brand that's holding you back. So if you're a coach, consultant, or expert who is on the rise, you need our ultimate guide to a freedom-based brand. Download it free now at brandfaceguide.com.